Our state has some incredible problems. My name is Lynn Hinderaker. I'm here to talk about that with you and talk about the trends that have shaped this state and dragged us in one direction or another. We're not really we're not realizing the dream we had way back in the early 2000s or even around 2008 or 9 or 10. My name is Lynn Hinderaker. Welcome to WowBiz Nebraska. We're going to get it on right now. If you had to write a headline in the future about your company, what would that headline say, and how exciting would it be to see it come to fruition and actually exist in the future, waiting for you to kind of come towards it? My name is Lynn Hinderaker, and thanks for joining me here on WowBiz Nebraska. This is an exciting show, lots of new information, examples, but also real life situations right here in the state of Nebraska. We're going to talk about all of them. And of course, this show is brought to you by AudioClick. AudioClick's an exciting new approach to email. We'll talk about that. They're a wonderful promotional sponsor, and we'll fill you in on those details about halfway through our show here at WowBiz Nebraska. Now, as I said to you before, it's kind of a challenge. What would you say about your company as we go into the future? Would you open it up and there it is in the print or on your computer screen or whatever it is? And what would it say? What would it say? How exciting is that? Now, let's take it a little bit further. Let's pretend I would be coaching you as you're trying to figure this out. And my first suggestion to you would be create a movement. Create a movement. Now, you know, Seth Godin, for instance, one of the great authors of our current era, says this all the time. Don't create a product or don't pitch a product. In fact, create some kind of a movement, almost like a social movement, something that has real meaning associated with it. And by the way, speaking about meaning, now I'm going to divert over here just a little tad and talk to you about the workforce here in the state of Nebraska. And of course, we have a lot of Gen Z and Gen Y as well in the workforce. Some of these are factories or bakeries, those kinds of situations. And the turnover, as you know, these are people that are making probably $25,000, $30,000 a year. For whatever reason, I'm going to come back to that, for whatever reason they decide they're going to go off and find some other job. They don't like the guy that they work for. It's a pain in the butt. They get there a little bit late. They get their hands slapped. They don't like that, etc. So all of a sudden one day they say, you know, I'm out of here. Send me my check. Goodbye. Right? So this is a very interesting thing because it costs about as much as you're paying them for a yearly salary, and maybe even a little more, about half more to replace them and to get them into the system, train them, and so on. You really don't want a lot of turnover. It could be very bad. So how do you do that? I just saw an ad, a half-page ad yesterday, I guess it was, here in the Omaha area. I'm not going to be real specific about the company or the industry, but we're hiring, we're hiring. And if you go to that site, go to where they do their business, you'll see not dozens, but hundreds of cars. So this is a very real situation. The question is, of course, how do we keep them here? And who is the right person? What profile? Or do we have to somehow psychoanalyze every single person and try to figure out? And I will tell you this, there are answers to this question. I'm going to reach over here and quickly show you. There's a system out there today that it's a little different, a little more philosophical, a little more career-oriented, and it also speaks to managers, right? Not just the hourly workers that I'm talking about right now, but also the managers and training them to focus on the qualities of the individual workers that are working with them. Now, if you could put that all together, right, and you have a great headline, we've accomplished these things, we're at the front of our industry, what would that be? I'm going to show you an ad here. It's actually an ad for a movie that's coming out, but I love it because it really speaks to what you want a business, your business, to be. You see the headline here at the very top? A thrilling odyssey. Whoa! What an incredible thing. How is it to work over at John Doe ABC Company? Well, it's a thrilling odyssey. Now, what would it take for somebody to actually say that about your company. It's a thrilling odyssey to be here, huh? I think a couple, 2, 3 things, and I'll mention them briefly here. This is a much longer topic, of course, but one is to really understand the new employee and what trips their trigger and how they think of themselves. Very important, because most of the time, especially if they're younger, they don't really know who they are, nor do they know what they should be doing. But they do, we all gravitate towards things that we're good at, whatever it is, things that we're kind of good at. Not necessarily the thing that pays us the most at the end of the day or the week, whatever, but the things that we enjoy doing and we would actually probably do just because we love doing them and we're good at it. And people occasionally compliment us on whatever it is. So this is a very important thing to identify that. The other thing is to not, as a manager, supervisor, to not get too uptight about your goals and my team over here, and they've got to make this, and they didn't do that, so I'm so disappointed, and you're not going to get any reward over here. As soon as that happens, because what you're really thinking if you're that manager is these kids, these young folks are letting me down. And my wife wanted me to earn some kind of a bonus, and I'm not going to earn that bonus because that guy and that guy over there didn't work very hard and didn't cooperate with people and so on. So we're not as productive as I promised my boss, and I'm not going to get my bonus, and I'm not going to forget that because of what these people did to me, etc. So that, I know that seems a little extreme, but that goes on all the time. That kind of an attitude, and then, of course, shortly after, because people can figure out, that they're hanging out with somebody who is caustic, judgmental, and doesn't really care about them, their life, what they're trying to do with themselves, and so on. They don't really care about that. And of course, that's why these people right here at Future Force, I think they have a management component as well. So not only are they training and coaching employees, trying to help them see themselves grow. That's the key. Are you growing this week? Have you taken some steps? Have you done some things that you didn't do last week? Are you being allowed to grow? Are you being given a little bit of a extra latitude to kind of do a couple new things? And by the way, are you behaving in a creative fashion? Are you finding new and cool ideas in your department, something that you can elaborate on and really take over? So this is what's going on in their heads, and the managers are going, whatever, just, crank it out and don't leave 1 second before the whistle blows, etc. Right? So we have that problem, and it's solvable, and I believe this Future Force system is one way to come at it in a more, and this is the final thing, creating, well, I hate to say this because I know there will be people that will be rolling their eyes, creating meaning. Yeah, creating meaning, exactly right. And you might have to bring an outsider in to do that, but maybe not. The idea is, what is meaningful to you, Mr. Employee? Huh? What is really meaningful to you? Do you want to get ahead? You want to make a ton of money by next December? What is it? And then somehow, every time you talk to that person, you have that reference point. And if they make some strides in that direction towards a meaningful benchmark, something that is really, you were able to buy your girlfriend this or that, and she loved it, and those kinds of things are meaningful. And the ability to compliment them. And really, I'm going to go this far and say, celebrate. Celebrate every step, little tiny step forward that your employees take. Because they're stepping into the future. They'll never forget you, regardless of how negative or how positive you are to them. So there you go. That's how we create a thrilling odyssey for employees and prevent turnover, of course. And along with this, I'm going to go ahead and do this because this is a strategic planning thing, but you've heard this phrase before, North Star, right? What is our North Star? What is our real purpose? When do we get to the point where we feel like, bam, we are really doing it, man. We are changing things. People are feeling like they're coming into their own. We're connecting and sharing new ideas. And this has happened to me a number of times, I'm happy to be able to say, where you're injecting new energy into, maybe you have a task force or a team or a committee, and people talk about the problems and they need to be solved. And then you say, that's solvable. That's solvable. That can be resolved. And you will work on that. And in 1 week, we're going to get this done. And you will be at the front of that particular parade. And people go, okay, that sounds good to me. I'll move in that direction. Thank you for getting us going in that fashion. It's a pretty interesting topic, you know. And then, you know, here's another related question to that about this North Star thing. What is it? I got to ask this question. You got to ask yourself this question at least once every 2 months. What is it that you have to accomplish where you will wake up in the morning and say, I'm doing it. I'm succeeding. I'm actually doing what I said I wanted to do, but hardly ever got accomplished. But it seems like it's coming easier for me right now. And I'm kind of understanding who I am and what's going through my mind. So when negative things happen, I'm not kind of swept up in it so negatively. Now, so that's a cool thing. Now listen, I'm going to share I'm going to div it away right here real quick and share a personal idea with you right now. I think I've got a couple, 2-3 minutes to do that. But this is relevant to how we think, especially if you're the business owner, how you think about your business when you close the door, you're by yourself. Being a CEO or president is very lonely, by the way, and you're wondering to yourself, how can I get lifted up? Is there really a next level in my industry and in my company? So here's my personal story. Many years ago, when I was a very young boy, I think it was 5 years, I grew up on the farm, and we had a chicken house that was 100 feet or 100 yards, 100 yards away from our house. And we also had a turkey shed in that general area, but that was clear over here. So we had chickens over here and turkeys over there. And it was a very, very snowy, really a strong winter storm. And so we had stayed cooped up in our home for a couple days, but it became time for my father to go out and chore, make sure the birds were okay, feed them and so on. And so my mother told my dad, why don't you take Lynn with you and just get him out of the house and, get some fresh air and take him out there to the chicken house. Well, my dad agreed to do that. He was always a good sport. And so he got me all bundled up and hat and scarf and all that. And so he dragged me out there. Oh my goodness, the wind and the snow drifts. The snow drifts were 5-6 feet tall. And there were many of them. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. It was really something. Well, anyway, so he grabbed me and he pulled me across the windy farmyard all the way down to the chicken house, right? And we got there and it was nice because it was much warmer in there. And he picked some eggs and so on. He said, Lynn, I got to go over here, just over around the corner here to go see how the turkeys are. Yes, we had poultry. And he said, why don't you stay right here? It's so cold and everything. Just stay right here. And that way you won't have to go outside and I'll be right back. This is my father speaking to me way back in like 1956 or 7, something like that. And I said, okay, Daddy, no problem. And so he said, he opens the door and he goes out, and he goes out. He's gone, right? And I'm standing there for a little bit, and I'm looking around and the birds are there and they're walking around, the chickens. And of course, there's a little bit of manure on the floor. A lot of city kids don't know how that goes, but there's some hay and straw on the floor, but there's also some manure. Anyway, so I started getting kind of nervous because my dad didn't come back, right? And the wind and the snow is going outside and the icy behavior. And I was just very nervous, right? Very nervous. So I eventually came to the conclusion that my father had died, that he was in a snowdrift and he had died, frozen solid, etc. And I was frightened to death. Didn't know what to do under these circumstances, of course, because this meant I would eventually die. So I got down on my knees. It was a very religious family at that time. And I began to pray right here on this straw chicken house floor with dampness. And it came up through my knees and the jeans. I'll never forget. So I'm sitting there and I'm doing this, right? There's a very personal moment, very frightening for me as a little boy. All of a sudden, just a few seconds into this exercise, here comes the door, here comes my father, whoosh, right? And he's got snow and ice all over him and so on. And he sees me in this position, right? He sees me in this humble position. He knew I was kind of crying. I was very worried. And so he realized he maybe made a mistake by leaving me there or staying out too long. So he came down on his knees very quickly and he grabbed me hard, and he swept me up. He swept me up. He picked me up and apologized. And it was a very warm, cozy moment, as you might imagine. Very loving moment, very loving man. And I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. Now, this applies, believe it or not, to many business people that I talk to. Not quite as emotional, of course, but nevertheless, they are deep down inside, they are waiting for somebody from outside the chicken house, somebody outside their organization to come in there, detect what is going on inside of them, like I don't know what to do with our company, and sweep them up, lift them up, provide aspirational ideas. We can get this done. We'll work with you. Maybe it's a consultant, a coach, a trainer, those kinds of people coming from outside. They're there to help, just like my father helped me under those circumstances. It's a very emotional moment, and there's a need for those kinds of people these days because of the turbulence and everything that's going on in our culture and in our world. That's right. That was a good story, huh? Well, thank you again for watching us here on WowBiz Nebraska. You'll hear all kinds of stuff here that you would never hear otherwise. And we appreciate you stepping in. Now, this show is brought to you by a very interesting, innovative, I'll call it technology-driven service. I want to step back and say, remember the first time you heard about the internet and everything that it implies, right? So about 1994, 95, 96, right there about, that's when the internet was being debuted and explained to people in cafeterias and auditoriums and so on. And when you found out about it, you really understood what they were trying to tell you. It was pretty exciting. I mean, really exciting, the implications of the internet way back at that time. Now, think about this. Almost as exciting was the first email, right? Or business email in particular. That came out about 2001, 2, 3, right around there. Everybody was experimenting with email in the early 2000s. Now, what I'm going to tell you about right now, Audio Click, is, I believe, almost as exciting and powerful and important and impactful and unique as those previous innovations that I just mentioned to you. That's because it is email, but it's not email that you type out. It's not email like that. It's email that you speak into your computer screen, turn on your microphone, it hears it, and literally for 60 seconds or more, you can address somebody. Could be a prospect, right? Could be a client, could be a supporter, but really prospecting is what this is all about. And you can say, hey, we've got this going, we've been thinking about this, we're talking about this over here, we know this is perfect for you. Here's a couple of the background elements, some of the things that happened with us that led up to this point. I know you're waiting to hear from me. I'll get you very soon. You'll hear from me tomorrow. Thank you for listening to this Audio Click message, email message. It's amazing. It really is. I've watched people's face when they listen to a message from me, by the way, under these circumstances, and their eyes get big. They didn't expect this, and they're thinking this is really like chatting with somebody over dinner or something, and they're really enthusiastic, and they're telling me about it, and it doesn't come across as a mundane ho-hum email that I'm going to delete right off the bat. Instead, it's kind of exciting, and I can feel the nuance and the emotion and the personality, and they're talking to me just the way they would talk to me on the street in 1 or 2 minutes, and I like it. I like how they relate to me. Yes, I actually would be open to chatting with them, talking to them somehow, right? Yes, that's what Audio Click will get you. If you're in the business of utilizing email to attract prospects and salespeople and so on into your organization, you want attention from the marketplace, speak to me about Audio Click. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a breakthrough. It's a breakthrough like the internet, like the original emails. You are not going to believe how natural it is and how persuasive it can be. Move your business forward with Audio Click. Audio Click, absolutely. Fantastic. What a great thing. It's a thrilling odyssey to deliver an email message on audio click. Okay, thank you so much again for watching us. We've got more to come. I'm going to talk to you about something kind of unusual towards the back end of our show here in WowBiz, Nebraska. This is a little bit different. In fact, I've got two things to visit with you about, but the first one has to do with my involvement with North Omaha and South Omaha and the Economic Development Organization in Lincoln and so on. My partner, we're out there talking, forming kind of focus groups, discussion groups. And it's very interesting to ask them some questions. And we're talking about North and South Omaha, all right, equally. And here's what they say. Here's the key point that we kind of focus on, that they kind of circle around, and that is, we are so consumer driven. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about here. We're not even really citizens anymore. Remember when we were proud to be a citizen in our country or our state or whatever, you know, a citizen. And we would talk to other people, neighborhoods, right? Just down the street. How you guys doing? Come on over here. Let's chat. I'll have a cup of coffee with you. Maybe your boy can play baseball right over here with my boy over here. Go ahead, guys. You know, this is how it is. This is how it was. Excuse me. This is how it was. Neighborliness, friendliness. It's not constructed in a stiff way. It's relaxed. And you know that this lady over the street, she can watch your children if necessary. And over here, he knows all about my car. He helped me change a tire, et cetera, et cetera. It's just natural, it just flows. But that's not the way it is anymore. That's not the way it is anymore. Somehow, partially because of technology and so on, we're isolated. We barely acknowledge our neighbors. Maybe we give them a hello when we see them on the street or in the alley or whatever, but we don't seem to have any more friendship. In fact, we're being judged by people in our neighborhood, people that we talk to, pretty much by our ability to purchase things, our ability to buy a fancy car or a nice house or a fancy suit or whatever it is. But people are judging each other and then stepping back and really not engaging in a way that seems to make us all happy and we can relax. I don't have any problems. Everybody over here kind of knows us and we like them. It's not like that anymore. We're no longer citizens. We're consumers. And as a marketing person, I take this very personally because I realize that I may have contributed to this. I call it the Great Divide, so to speak. But this is what people are saying when you get them alone or in a small group, is there isn't much neighborliness anymore. In fact, frankly, there's quite a bit of loneliness. That's really an issue. In fact, the Department of Health Services at the national level, the federal level, I forget the gentleman's name, but he recently said that loneliness was a primary contributor to morbidity. Oh, wow. So a lot of people, and probably older people, the skews that way, but not necessarily. A lot of young people are using texts as a way to avoid legitimate, relaxed, informal interaction with other people, their peers, and so on. So this is an incredible trend. And, you know, if you have a company or a product or service, and you might want to think about, how do we help people come together? Maybe our product or service stands for an idea, not just a tangible product that costs $8.99 today or whatever, but maybe there's more to it. And maybe there's more intangible value to some of these purchases that we make, and that somehow can bring us together again. Now, I know in sports, we do see our neighbors there, and our children are out there playing basketball, and that's great, and so on. But aside from that, it's very, very difficult to actually have a conversation that is meaningful now, not just politeness with your neighbors. And this is a big, big element here in our city and here in our state. You know, the next time I talk with you, I want to share with you that I have 16 ways to make your product or service stand out and to stand for something different and unique and better than your competitor. Most people are like, I don't know, you know, we have good stuff, but I don't know. Is it really better than that guy or that guy? I don't know, you know. Well, the answer has to be yes, of course. And so I'm going to give you, the next time you see me, 16 different ways to set yourself apart from the pack and stand for something truly unique and something that you can take to the bank. Something that earns, by the way, a fairly reasonable profit margin. Remember, a great brand is emotional. This is a very hard thing. A great brand is emotional, and it should be therefore able to get people to spend extra, a premium price for a product or a service that you have. Now, don't shake your heads. That's possible. If your brand doesn't do that, doesn't crawl across the table and say, "Ha, 30% plus for me," right? If it's not doing that, you need to talk. You need to talk to an expert, somebody that understands marketing and positioning and branding and can help you execute it. That's the other thing. It's one thing to think about it in a conference room and yeah, that seems pretty good, but how do we execute it, right? How do we pull it off every single day? And then if it gets boring, how do we tweak it and so on and make it very, very special and unique? An experience. It's not a product. It's not something you should hold in your hand. It needs to be an experience. You can't wait to tell your friend or your spouse, "They did this, I did this, I got this, it's great." That's right, that's how it is. Well, listen, you have been with me on a very interesting ride today. I appreciate it so much. I'm Lynn Hinderaker with WowBiz Nebraska. It's a pleasure to meet you, see you, share ideas and insights with you. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to talk to you soon. And you're going to learn quickly and apply it quickly. Thank you so very much for watching WowBiz Nebraska. We'll see you next time.